Hi, welcome to another reading vlog. My name is Esme and this vlog I am reading Code by R.C. Glenn. I got the first book as a review copy and I won the sequel in a giveaway, and it's written by an indie author and it's amazing. Indie authors deserve more praise and attention and generally more love than they are getting at this moment because they can write super good books. This is a horror, thriller, sci-fi kind of time travel series. It's a lot in once, but it's super good and it's easy to get through. It catches your mind in some sort of grasp and it's good. It's creepy, it's thrilling, but it's also an interesting story. You really start to care about the characters. It's a very diverse series as well, and I can't recommend it enough. I've read the first book for review purposes, and I will have the review down below alongside the Goodreads link, so you can check out the official synopsis, because I am not really good at those. But I want to say that it's about two detectives, private investigators. They meet a young girl and she's being stalked, and they find out it's a supernatural creature that's stalking her. That is like a mix between a digital apparition and a ghost, and it's so good. It's not the kind of creepy that will affect your sleep at night, well, maybe perhaps, but it's like thrilling. You keep reading, it's grasping you. Basically, this is the sequel, as the apparition in book 1 is actually from years ago, from where it started to exist. And in this book, you explore the start of that existence. And it's taking place in 1986, while the first book takes place in 2018. And some of the characters that you see in book 1, like the adult versions of them, you see them as 20-year-olds-ish, and it's amazing. Another reason why this series is diverse is because one of the characters is autistic, and I live for all the autistic representation. I do have to say, it's not own voices, but I've talked to the author and he is so sincere and he puts all the effort into getting the character Freddy right. I'm a little over 60 pages in and I am already in love with Freddy because he is autistic. He is like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's good, y'all. It's good. You can really say that R.C. Glenn is really putting all the information he has about autism and how autistic people are really to good use. It's in the little details. You can see that I tapped like a lot already and I'm just 65 pages in, and this book has a little short of 300. So this is gonna be fun. But like the simple thing of when Freddy is anxious that he starts snapping his fingers, which is something I do too, and like him being completely focused on what he's doing and then suddenly 8 hours gone by and he forgot to eat, or just generally not loving to make eye contact but understanding that people find it rude if you don't. It's the tiny things are the ones that matter, because then it becomes actual representation. He is not a burden to people. People don't understand him, but like people don't understand me either, so that's also very realistic, but he's not a burden. Like, I spoke to the author because I received the first book as a review copy, and we talked about the autism representation and potentially more queer storyline in the first book, and which is acknowledged in this one. I love it. But he said he was worried a little bit because in the first book, Freddy is like a side character and he only comes forward towards the end. But like what I read about Freddy in just that book and like what he did there was already amazing autism representation. It was small, yeah, but it was accurate. He's not in the same way autistic that I am, but we share a lot of similar traits and behavior, and it was accurate. And it was only so small, and he was like a side character as well and only very briefly into the story. And now he's a main character and just people are amazing to him. Like they try to understand him, they accept who he is, and they make how he is work with how they are, if you get what I mean. So yeah, I love science fiction, I love time travel, and I love amazing representation. And this is an indie book, y'all. It shows that it's not impossible for books to contain representation of marginalized identities. And the book is still good. I'm not gonna lie. I have read some books that are regularly published that are actually pretty mediocre, while you would expect like a certain kind of quality from regularly published books. And I keep a more open mind with indie books, but like hands down this is amazing. And if this was something published by one of the big 5 publishers, people would have talked about it a lot. It's adult fiction, but it can also be read as like new adult fiction in a way, because in the first book the characters are like 30, 25 to 30s, like that, which falls within the NA range. And in this book the characters are 18 and 21, and then you have Chloe from the first book, she is 16 I think, but they are fairly young, but it's certainly not young adult. It's like early adult slash new adult if I'm like analyzing it. It's classed as adult, but like anything that's not YA but over is classed as adult. I'm really looking forward to start reading a little bit more, but I do have to do some things because I am doing an online course for graphic design and I'm starting my driving lessons in 2 weeks I think. So I have to spend some time on that as well and then edit another vlog, but I hope to squeeze in some reading because if I just sit down, I can have this book devoured by tomorrow. Sorry, I'm just so happy with books like this. It's like a little present in a place you would not expect. Anyway, if you're interested, I will have the Goodreads link below and purchase links if you are already convinced to read this. Again, this is a sequel. The first book is Echo, and I think the author is writing book 3 at the moment. And if I recall correctly, there may be a 4th book. I don't know how long this series is gonna be, but like, I want all the books. If there were 8 books in this series, I would read all 8 and still long for more. And it's like only the start of the 2nd book. Also, look at how cool the cover is and like how all these tabs match actually. These are very neon colors and so are my tabs and it looks super cool together. Also, there's like a stack of like 6 tabs right here and it looks like 3 or something. Yeah, it's a good sign if I tab a lot, because then I see a lot of myself in it, or like I relate to it, or it's like funny, and like so many tabs in just 65 pages is impressive. I of course don't know what the rest of the book gonna be, but I will find out. So yeah, I will keep you guys updated, and I promise to not have my next clip to be after I finish, just like last time, because I really need to practice my reading vlogs. Anyway, I'm gonna go. See you later. Hey, I am halfway through Goat and I wanted to like check in a little bit. And I realized that I didn't really talk to you about how Chloe became a ghost. So I'm gonna explain the event of this book with some context of the first book. And yes, there will be spoilers, but I will try to keep them minor and more of like a red line of the story, especially for the first book. Go in a little bit more detail for the second, like this one. But if you don't want to have any spoilers, there will be a timestamp here where you can skip to avoid at least this section, and the next section will have its own timestamp. I talked about how Chloe was also the protagonist in the first book, and like going over the events of the first book real quick. The book is about Chloe and she's being stalked, and she hires 2 private investigators to help her find her stalker and apprehend them. Turns out her stalker is a ghost and wants to kill her. It's a whole mess. It also turns out that she is not just a ghost, but like a combination between a ghost and a computer program. She has powers like telekinesis, and she's able to manipulate electronic devices such as phones, computers, monitors. And obviously she's homicidal, she's dangerous. They want to get rid of her with the help of some other characters that are also present in this book, but like the younger versions, I will explain later. They built some type of bomb that consists of like radio waves and all kinds of things to just literally delete the ghost out of existence. Her name is Alice, by the way. But they also find out that Alice is actually Chloe, but from a different timeline. It's a whole time loop kind of thing, so it's meant to be confusing. And basically how that book ends is where this book starts, which is obvious, but hear me out. So they're trying to kind of kill, but like delete Alice because she's already dead because she's a ghost. Right at the moment that happens, Chloe herself gets stabbed and dies. and somehow something is triggered that her spirit or her soul, together with the energy of the radio bomb, she gets teleported or time traveled back to 1986, which is where this book takes place. And basically what you see is Chloe's future, but Alice's past, because they're the same person. And you see Chloe gain ghost ability. She can walk through walls, no one can see her or hear her. She is not a regular ghost, so she also has powers. For 6 months, she is in 1986 leads and no one can see her. She can't feel anything. She can't touch anything but herself, and it's getting super lonely. That's where one of the main characters, Freddy, which I talked about in my earlier clip, he's autistic and he is the only person that can see Alice. They meet by accident and it's a whole mess because he gets scared of Alice, because when he sees her, she kind of gets panicky, you can see me? He's just scared out of his mind, and especially when she tries to touch him, her body kind of glitches into RGB colors like red, green, and blue, and he is scared out of his mind. They do meet up later and she explains everything and he's no longer scared of her. Then you have the other main character beside Freddy and Chloe, of course, that is Martin. Martin is a 21-year-old police officer and he just recently started working as full-time policeman. He meets Freddy when Freddy is in a diner and he meets up with some old friend from college, and then someone else from his old college decides to go and bully him and screams that he's been touching up his friend. A group of men is not having it, but also they think they're funny and they're trying to beat him up. And right before they're stomping Freddy out of his skull, Martin shows up and arrests the bad guy and one of his friends. The rest just took off. Pussies, really. And that's how Freddy meets Martin and they became friends. This is before Freddy and Chloe met, but it's significant because Chloe has kind of been following Martin because he was the first person that was sensing her presence. So she wanted to find out what was happening and if perhaps they could make contact. She was very desperate and lonely, obviously. But it was easier that Martin and Freddy also became friends for her to contact him as well. Basically what they've been trying to do is find out why she became a ghost like that and how, what her limits are and what her powers are. Like I said, she can manipulate electronic devices, which is a superpower on its own, and they're trying to find out what more she can do. One of the things is somehow predicting the future, premonition. When she walks out of Freddy's house, she sees a car in the street and she gets a flash of that car crashed and the people that were in it. Yeah, it's a mess. And she gets freaked out, but she didn't think anything of it because really, if I would get a vision like that, I would think I would be going nuts. So she kept it to herself until she saw on the news that that car actually crashed the next day. So she started paying more attention, and it happened again when she was at the train station and she saw that some creepy old man tried to get some little girl home with him, and she used her powers of manipulating electronic devices to send Martin a message, and he obviously saved the girl because he's a police officer. But he finds the whole thing strange and creepy, especially as Freddy knows about it, but it isn't public knowledge. So when he comes to Freddy's house to ask him, how do you know that? This is illegal, man. I probably have to arrest you for it. He was like, oh, but she told me. And there was Chloe, and Chloe said, I was the one who told you in the first place, so who is being illegal now? And that's basically where I am at now. And I have the feeling that because now all three characters are together and being all friendly and stuff, that the plot is going to take off from here. And I really don't mind that the pacing of how many things happen and what the stakes are is different and less than in the first book, because I think all the context was needed, all the build-up was needed, because I think it's gonna go real quick from this point. That build-up was kind of needed for all the context to be there, so everything that needs to happen can happen in quick succession without too much info dumping. I really love this cast already. I really love Freddy. Ever since I last talked about him, his autism representation is just still amazing. And I love Martin because he tries to do good and he tries to be the best cop out there, but high moral standards and motivations. This book still holds up, and it's even better than the last time I talked. I'm either going to finish up the whole book before checking in again, unless something important happens, because I have about 100 pages left. Yeah, something like that. And I easily can get that done tonight. So more about this book later, because I have something else to show, and that's Bookmail. I always love Bookmail, and I have a feeling what this is. Yeah, I have a feeling what this is. Let's open it. Okay, here we go. Cemetery Boys by Aidan Thomas. This is most likely one of the top 5 most anticipated reads of this year, and it's so pretty. Oh my god, okay. Like, it's kind of a maroon red. It looks so good, especially with like the yellow gold-ish. The contrast is amazing. Oh, holy shit. There are images on the back, like illustrations, and they look fantastic. And here is a close-up of the cover. And let me get, oh, that's a nice color. Okay, sec. It has a Mexican folk song, and it has like beautiful art, and it looks so pretty. Okay. I was going to take the dust jacket off to show you, because I've seen it in people's Instagram stories and like Twitter, and this is the front. And it has a beautiful flower gold embossing, and this is the spine, and it's gold, and it has more illustrations, and holy shit, who designed this? It also has like the material of this hardback is so nice. Like, usually when I hold a hardback, I get easily sensory overloaded because I don't like how this feels. But it really varies because there are so many types of hardbacks and types of materials they use for it, and this is like nice. It's not completely hard, it's somehow a little bit soft to the touch, while still sturdy. And I see it looks much more red than it does in real life. It's a little bit more to the purple side of things than what is showing here, but I really love this. How many pages does this have? A little over 300. Oh no, 350, a little under that. Oh my god. I know you can't see the book because I'm not standing far away from the camera. But like, I have reasons that I wanted to love this book so much, and that I wanted this book so much, and like, this is gonna be a video of its own, but like, I wanted to show you the book I got. I also got it for free because Lindsay Miller, an author I have multiple books of and raved about on my social media more than once, she was offering to buy people pre-orders of certain books, and Cemetery Boys is one of them. I am so grateful for her because hardbacks are super expensive and I not always can afford them. This was one of those books that I just really needed to have. I don't know what I like more, like the flowers or the actual cover. Like, they look so well. I need to stop raving about this book and actually finish my current read and probably edit my last reading vlog. And I'm so excited because this is like, oh my god. Fair warning, if I'm happy, I often do like happy little movements. One of the things autistic and like neurodivergent people do a lot is stimming, and one of those things can be like weird arm movements or snapping fingers, and when I'm happy I tend to do that, and I'm trying to let my body just do it. I've done a lot of masking in my life because from a young age I've been told that I have to sit still and behave normally, but like, this is normal for me, so I'm allowing myself to be happy and show that even on screen because that's simply who I am. And I want to make another video or a blog post about stimming in general to talk a little more about it, but that's why I make happy movements. And this book makes me so happy. So yeah, I'm going to go and read a little bit more and edit my video, and I will see you guys tomorrow. See ya! Hi, I didn't finish the book last night because I had so many things to do and it took me way longer than I expected them to take, and I just don't like being adult and having responsibilities. Anyway, today is gonna be stacked as well, and I really hope I can finish it either today or tomorrow morning before I'm going to my boyfriend's, because then I can take another book with me and can leave this one at home and have less luggage to drag along with me. I'm about 2/3 into the book right now. Yesterday I was like halfway, and I was correct. The story is picking up now. It's getting more serious and the stakes are getting higher, and I am really pleased with this book. I just love it so much, and yeah, I cannot wait to finish it, and I hope to be able to today. that was the update. It's a minute long. Anyway, I will see you either tomorrow or when I finish the book. Which one comes first? See ya. Hey folks, I don't know exactly how long it has been since my last clip, but I did finish Code the same night. And I can only say absolute 5-star read. This book is fantastic in so many ways, and I wanted to make this outro have everything that I want to say. And after days of trying to combine my thoughts, I thought, let's write a review first. And that really helped me. So I have a couple of points, and those are touched upon in the review, more detailed and more, with more words that make sense, because however intelligent I sometimes may seem, I have to think twice about what I say, and filming it is sometimes a little bit chaotic. But yeah, Code. First things, 5 stars, incredible read. It follows perfectly into the footsteps of the first book, Echo, and please go read this series, please, someone else. I need people to talk to about this book that's not the author, because I just want to fangirl, you know? And it's sometimes a little awkward to do that to the author. But yeah, writing. First things first. Writing is so important for a book. A book can have the best story, but if the writing sucks, the book isn't gonna be very good either. And this book, it has writing that just keeps you hooked, and I said that in another clip as well, but like, it went through to the entire book. If I had the moment and the time and the energy, I'd have just sit down with this book and not come off my seat until it was done. Because that's how the writing wants me to read it. In the least amount of sittings possible, because it just keeps you want to read. I mean, there are people that are incredible writers, that have poetry in their writing, that have incredible descriptions, that can make you see everything that's happening or make you vibe with it. That writing style is often a little bit draining, at least for me. This book, the writing style, it's at first glance it seems really mundane. It seems really normal, like nothing is actually happening to this writing, but the way it makes you feel and the way it affects your reading experience, it's so subtle, but it's so good, and I don't see that enough. And this is an indie author, y'all. He is doing it all by himself. Can you imagine that there are authors that have a whole team of people behind them and still publish a mediocre book? And he's doing this all on his own. Well, I assume he has help. It's insane. It's insane how, I keep saying it, but like, I don't have a lot of focus. And that's probably because I'm autistic. I get distracted so easily. But this book is one of the few books that I could just sit down, read, and not be distracted. Because the book was more interesting. It kept my thoughts in the book. And that's incredible. That not a lot of books have that. So yeah, writing. More about that in my review, but like, that's kind of my chaotic thinking about it. Following the writing is characters. All of these characters are their own personality. They are their own person. They are their own character. I've seen a lot of books that the characters are blending into each other, that their only differences are maybe the skin color or the sexuality, their name, their job, you know? But for the rest, the personality, it's similar or the same. Or the characters really feel like characters from other books. Or like, oh, you have that bad boy and you have the soft girl and they're dating. But basically, they're the same character as any other YA book. And I say YA, but like, that happens a lot of YA, but also like in fiction in general. Not in this book. Every character was their own character, even though almost the entire cast swept from the first book to this one because it's taking place 30 years in the past. I keep thinking how impressed I am by this book. Maybe my standards are different because I have read some questionable books, or some questionable books have come onto my path, but I'm impressed. I'm genuinely impressed. I don't always say that. There are quite a lot of 5-star books and I don't even think that I'm impressed. I just think, oh, it's a 5-star book because it's really good. But like, the more I deep dive in the quality of this book, the more things I find that are just things you would brush over. Things that on the first look you wouldn't think of. But I'm saying it now. Last thing, well, not completely the last thing, is the autism representation. The autism representation held up throughout the entire book. It's not that when you meet Freddy that he is very autistic and his autism diminishes over time. No, until the very end he's autistic. Like, at some point he was out with the group, with the main character group, and he was just working on something, and they had an entire conversation and he didn't hear a word. Like, that happens to me so often. And like, it's in the simple things, it's in the so subtle things, and I said that before in my first clip, but that's what makes it good representation. It's dynamic as well, it's not static. In a lot of books with autistic characters, the autistic character is very static. He doesn't learn, he doesn't adapt, and the people around them don't learn and don't adapt. And it's kind of a back and forth game throughout the entire thing and nothing changes. But like, the more the plot develops, the more people get involved, the higher the stakes. You see him adapt, but in his own way. You see other characters that also have to adapt to the similar situations, and they do it differently. Even though they think of each other for it to be strange or questionable, they don't care, because people are people, and people are allowed to be different and deal with things differently. It's so important for such representation to be on page, and I'm so glad that indie authors are doing that as well. Maybe opening a path for regular published authors to do it more as well, to show publishing that those books sell as well, and people love those books and would love to read more of them. And the very last thing is representation. Like, this series has a lot of representation, and it's just part of the stories and not the story. Like I said before, with autism, a lot of autism books are about how the autistic person is struggling, or the people around them are struggling, or how autism is a burden, or just the entire plot revolves about that person being autistic. But this was just a horror, sci-fi, fantasy, paranormal, whatever book, and it was an autistic character. But he is never a burden, and it was never about him specifically or his autism specifically. He was just another character in the story. In the first book, one of the detectives is gay, and Chloe and her best friend Jade, she acknowledges that their bond was something beyond friendship, that was more, but not yet there in the romance sector. And it's beautiful, it's subtle, but it's there, but it's not part of the plot. It's there, but it's not part of the plot. Like, queer people exist. We exist in fantasy stories. We exist in non-fiction. We exist everywhere. But we don't have to exist to tell a queer story, because we also tell other stories, and we are part of other stories, and we are allowed to tell them and be in them. So to see that in this book as well is incredible. And I also think that Chloe is bi because she has a thing for a girl, but she's also having a thing for a guy, and I love some really cute baby bi representation. She's obviously still figuring it out, so I call it the baby bi. It's adorable, and it's real. At least it feels real to me. I mean, if you're watching this video, you care about what I think and my opinion to a certain degree, I think. So you have to trust me on that. This is the end of this video, and I talked a lot. I'm super excited for the next book in the series, Glitch. I also saw today that the author announced that the book is not gonna be a 4-part series, but actually a 5-part series. He waited to announce it until he had something book-shaped for a 5th book, and I don't know if that book is gonna be after the planned 4th book or somewhere in between, but that's gonna be a surprise. But I don't care, I just love the idea of more books in this series, because this is so good. Please, everyone, check out this series and support an indie author, because they deserve love and they write incredible pieces of work. I promise you, if you love anything sci-fi, time travel, about a ghost. I know a lot of you have read The Fever King or are going to read it. It's The Fever King by Victoria Lee. The main character has a superpower, and that's called technopathy. I don't know how to pronounce it properly, but it's telepathy, but instead of minds, you can control electronic devices. And which is basically the same power that Chloe has, because she is some sort of combination between a digital apparition and a ghost, because she is both dead, like an actual ghost, but she also has powers and she's made up out of code, hence the name. So yeah, if you're into that, this series is gonna be perfect for you. Go please read this book, go yell with me because I feel really alone here. I will have all the links to this book and the author in the description. You can check it out, and yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!